Summary.
Sandra never expected the rugged mountain to change her life forever. During her weekend adventure, she discovers her inner strengths and weaknesses. Throughout her journey, she learns the importance of life, love, and understanding.
Chapter 1.
Sandra, how'd you like to go extreme hiking with me tomorrow? Asked Richard. I don't know, Richard, how extreme is it? I responded cautiously. A small plane will drop us off Friday morning outside of Snowbird Mountain in Utah. And we're on our own for the weekend to rough it in the mountain terrain. Come on, it will be romantic, he urged. I'm not sure I'm ready for that extreme. You know, I've only been a few times before. I will just slow you down. Besides, I work tomorrow. Not all of us can just pick up and take off when we want to, you know. Richard had definitely been spoiled during his lifetime. His family owned several of the hotels here in the Colorado area. Don't be crazy, this is a chance for us to explore together, Sandra. It's cold, snowy, we can make a fire and snuggle in the tent, it will be fun. I will set it all up, all you have to do is pack a few warm clothes. I'll handle everything else. Okay, Richard, you convinced me, I said excitedly. That's my girl. I will pick you up tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. I hung up the phone, still a bit leery of my decision, but the break from work would be a nice change. Being cooped up in that office was beginning to get to me. Perhaps it's just what I needed to clear my head, and then I can come home refreshed and ready to start looking for a new, more exciting position. I called the office next and lied about being sick and not able to come in tomorrow. I phoned my mother and let her know of our plans, not that she was too concerned. We had a complicated relationship. I searched through my closets, pulling out the warmest gloves, snow pants, hat, etc. I knew I'd need to dress in layers for sure. I'd been on a couple of these excursions with Richard before. He was used to dashing off anywhere he pleased at any time. He had taught me the basics of outdoor survival and hiking. It was exciting, it made me feel free to be so adventurous. I stuffed everything into my duffel bag and went to lay down. It would be an exhausting weekend for sure. My mind raced with thoughts about our upcoming adventure. I've known Richard for about a year, ever since his father bought out the local hotel I've worked for. He was a good influence on me. He has always brought out my daring side, the adventurous side I didn't know I had until meeting him last year. My heart knows not to fall in love with him. He has a reputation for spending time with many females, so our relationship is not exclusive. We have an understanding, fun for now agreement. It works for me. I have no desire to have a permanent relationship with anyone anytime soon. I watched my mother go through bad relationships my whole life and vowed to myself to never make the same mistakes. I heard the alarm go off early the next morning and jumped into the shower. Before I knew it, Richard was knocking at my door. You ready, baby? He leaned over and gave me a kiss on the cheek. Yes, I hardly slept at all last night. I turned off the lights, locked the door and headed out to the car with Richard. He explained that we'd be driving to a friend of his who owned his own private plane. He would then drop us off at the agreed location and pick us back up on Sunday late afternoon. I was comfortable leaving the details to Richard. He knew much more about hiking than me. As we boarded the small plane, my heart raced. I had never been on a private plane before. I'm not sure if I was feeling excitement or panic. I closed my eyes as we pulled off his property and rose up to the clouds. Richard grabbed my hand. Don't be nervous, baby. I'm trying, I smiled. After a couple of hours we landed on top of the highest mountain peak. It was much more desolate than I imagined. Richard threw out our gear, jumped out and then reached to help me climb out. Thanks for the lift, buddy. We will see you back here Sunday at 3. Richard shouted loudly to the driver. There were several inches of snow on the ground already. It was chilly, but not freezing yet. The sight of the mountain top being completely untouched was just breathtaking. There were no footprints in the snow, no skiers, no tourists, just us and nature. The glare from the white snow was almost blinding. All right, baby, grab what you can. We'll find a good place to set up camp, Richard shouted to me as the plane flew off. We were walking for nearly an hour when I asked, Richard, I feel like we are pretty far out from our rendezvous point. Shouldn't we stop? This mountain is a lot steeper than the others we've been on. We need a flatter area to set up at. We'll just go a little more. You okay walking a little further? Yes, I'm good, I lied. The rugged terrain was difficult to maneuver through. The snow made the pieces of rock in the ground slippery and hard to see. After another 30 minutes or so, Richard said, There, you see the slight opening that way. He pointed. It looks perfect. We busied ourselves setting up the tent and the fire pit. I packed your favorite beans, Richard said as he came over and put his arms around me. You did remember the can opener this time. I laughed. remembering the last trip we took together. Of course, I will never forget that again. I thought we were gonna damn near starve on that trip. Hopefully, we can find a deer or fox this afternoon. Hopefully. I lied, I wasn't crazy about deer, fox or any other animal we might shoot to eat. Beans and granola bars were fine with me for the weekend. I didn't dare tell Richard. I think he felt powerful killing his dinner and liked showing his hunting skills off to me. I'd much prefer to buy mine at the grocery store. Richard took off his glove and slid his hand into my snowsuit. Richard, you're freezing. I smiled but pulled away. He grinned and put his glove back on. Richard was charming. He knew how to flirt and make a girl notice him. He liked having the girls at work noticing him and fighting for his attention. Come on, let's see if we can find us dinner, he said as he grabbed for the shotgun. He handed the pocket knife to me. My job was always to mark the trees while he scouted the area for signs of an animal. We made a pretty good team in the outdoor world. Did you see that? He questioned softly. What is it? I whispered back, looked around, but saw nothing. I think it's a vulture. I just saw it flying down, about 50 feet away. Can we eat vultures? No, but it's here for a reason. It must be eating something. It's worth looking into, he said as he lowered his gun. I don't understand. Well, maybe it's eating a baby deer. And the mom's not far ... or vice versa, you never know. I followed Richard down the mountain as he tracked the bird with excitement. Sure enough, he was right. There laid a full-grown deer, surrounded by a few vultures. In the distance, he said he saw a couple of fawns. I don't like to shoot the fawn, but in this situation, they may not survive anyway. I heard the shotgun as it went off. I closed my eyes, hoping he had missed. The vultures flapped their wings violently as they flew off into the distance. Yes, I got one, Sandra, he shouted as he ran towards it. I waited behind and cringed as I watched him wrap the baby deer in a tarp and threw it over his shoulder. We followed my markings back to the campsite and gathered wood to light a fire. Richard always cleaned and cooked the animals. I wouldn't dare. Okay, we can have a feast tonight. We have some time to kill. Come here, he said as he went into the tent. I followed and saw him taking off his layers of clothes as he grinned at me again. He was very good looking and he knew it. Are you going to get undressed? He questioned me with his boyish grin. I suppose, I teased. As I took my layers off, I began to feel the chill of the mountain. It's getting really cold. I shivered. Hurry up, I will keep you warm, he said as he laid down. I quickly finished undressing, grabbed the sleeping bag and put it around me as I climbed on top of his naked body. Okay, warm me up, I begged. He quickly flipped me over onto my back and laid on top of me. As he kissed me, he caressed my boobs, rubbed my back and bottom and then entered inside me. He started pounding in and out of me until he shook with pleasure. I was glad he was quick. I was cold and hungry and not really in the mood for a long night of romance in this weather. We sat around the fire pit eating and planning our adventure for the next day when we would be hiking down the mountain. Shortly afterwards, we turned in for the night, snuggling together to keep warm. It wasn't too bad until he had to go back out every few hours to keep the fire going for some warmth. The morning air was incredibly chilly. We grabbed the shotgun and a backpack filled with a couple of water bottles, granola bars, a flashlight, compass and few other necessities. Richard hoped to find another kill for dinner tonight. I was excited to explore the mountain. I hoped to find waterfalls and breathtaking scenery. This area was definitely uncharted territory. We were very far away from civilization. I think next time we should explore the northern mountain ranges, Richard said as we walked down. I don't know, I might be ready to explore the northern beaches after this trip. It's so cold. The air felt different up here. Keep moving, you'll warm up. We only really have today to explore. Tomorrow, we won't have much time for anything but packing up camp and hiking up to the rendezvous point. Remember, going up is much harder. I remember, that's where I slow him down for sure. Richard, is it going to snow again? We are supposed to get another couple of inches before tomorrow. Nothing bad, he reassured me. Hey, I see a rabbit over there. You want to try out your shooting skills? He asked me, handing over the gun. No, you go ahead, Richard. Again, he made the shot, wrapped the rabbit up for dinner later and we continued on. I also continued making marks on the trees as Richard taught me. Eventually, we reached an open area. And I got what I came for, the beautiful scenery of the mountains. I sat and took it all in, for as far as I could see, endless snow-covered mountain tops, beautiful peaks and valleys, and in the far distance a waterfall. Oh, Richard, look at it. It is just amazing. Think you can make it down there? He questioned with a look of intriguement. I'd make it down, but I don't know if I'd make it all the way back up to the campsite afterwards. You can do it, baby. Come on, we can rush down quickly and pick up some speed, go break at the waterfall and take our time coming back up, before dark. He jumped up and motioned for my hand. Hurry. We trampled down fairly quickly. I was out of breath and ready for a break when we arrived. Oh, Richard, you were right. This is amazing up close. My eyes grew wide and my heart raced with excitement. We were at the halfway point of the fall. When I looked above, I could see the water as it came from the top of the mountain and plowed down the rocks, past where we sat and down to the bottom where the larger boulders divided the water into a flowing stream. It seemed like it must have been half a mile long. We sat for a while admiring nature at its best and snacked on a few of the granola bars we had brought. Richard said, "Give me your water bottle, I will fill them up for the hike back." He walked over to a tiny ledge naturally built from the rock and leaned over to catch the falling water into our bottles. "Don't get wet, Richard, you'll freeze to death." "I have another one in our bag," I shouted to him. I turned my head to look and saw Richard stumble, drop the water bottles and lose his balance on the slippery rock ledge. "Richard," I shouted as I ran towards him. I watched in horror as he fell. "Richard." I reached the edge where he had stood and looked down. I could see him about a quarter of a mile down on the rocks, on the edge of the fall in the shallow water. I ran as fast as I could down the slope of the mountain, all the while screaming for him. It took longer than I had imagined to reach him. "Oh God, Richard, I'm coming," I cried as I got closer to him. I waded through the water and rocked till I reached him. "Richard." He didn't move, he didn't say a word. I tried to flip him over onto his back, but I wasn't strong enough to move him. I knelt down next to him and sobbed until I realized I couldn't feel my legs. They were soaking wet and freezing cold. What am I going to do? Richard is dead. I steadied myself and tried to stand up. My face felt frozen from my tears. The snow was beginning to fall from the sky. I screamed as loud as I could, "Help. Please, someone help me." I could hear my voice echoing down the mountain, but knew no one was coming. There was no one to come. I walked out of the water, stumbling a few times, falling and hitting the rocks with my knees. The tips of the rocks were pointed and sharp-edged. I could feel the blood running down my leg inside my pants. "God help me, please. God, what do I do?" I instinctively ran and grabbed the shotgun in the distance. I felt panicked. I grabbed the backpack too and decided to head back up the mountain. I had to get back to the campsite. I needed shelter and the warmth of the fire. Between the tears and the snowflakes, I could barely see where I was going. I had no idea what time it was. Richard had the watch on. I knew I needed to go as quickly as possible to make it back by dark. I was disoriented. I had to find my way back to where I left off marking the trees before Richard fell. I knew it was about a quarter of a mile upwards and tried to look for the footprints in the snow, but they were beginning to fade from the new snow falling. I was exhausted. I dropped the backpack. It was too heavy for me to carry up. I pleaded with my inner self to keep walking. I told myself, I just need to make it to the campsite, I'll be okay then. I kept walking even though my legs throbbed. I continued to scream for help. I can't find my tree markings. I can barely see in front of me with the wind and snow blowing. I'm afraid the uphill walk is too much for me. I fell to the ground. My feet were numb. I crawled over to a nearby tree, hoovered under it with the shotgun in my hand and cried hysterically. When I opened my eyes again, it was dark outside. I must have passed out for a while. I'm so cold, my body is shaking uncontrollably. I can hardly feel myself anymore. I can't go on. This is how my life is going to end. I am going to die here and no one will ever find Richard or me. The vultures will likely eat us, or the fox. I should end it. I just have to pull the trigger. What other option did I have but to lie here and freeze to death? I pointed the shotgun at my chin as it stood between my legs with my hand on the trigger when I heard the brush move in the distance and the whine of an animal. It had to be a wolf. Instinctively, I pointed the gun away from me and onto the animal coming ahead of me. It moved slow but continued to come closer. I tried to stay quiet. I could hardly breathe. I could barely feel my finger on the trigger. My breath fogged up before my eyes and made it hard to see clearly. The animal peeked around the brush and popped his head out. When I saw his eyes looking into mine, I tried to squeeze the trigger. I felt the gun fall across my stomach. I put my head back against the tree, closed my eyes and prayed to God. I didn't have the strength to lift the gun to shoot him or myself. "Please take me fast, God," I prayed.
Chapter 2.
I tried to open my eyes, but couldn't. I felt warm. I don't know where I am. I could hear myself moaning and shaking, but couldn't speak. I felt a warm washcloth on my forehead, I felt a touch. You're okay, I heard. You're okay, he continued to say over and over, very softly. I felt my hair being rubbed, it was soothing, the warmth felt so good. I can hear the crackling of a fire. What's your name? He asked. I couldn't respond. I heard an animal. No, I shouted, help me. I shook my head back and forth and swatted my hands in the air. No. Quite Max, leave her alone. He shouted, go lay down. Hey, wake up, come on, wake up. I felt my cheek being slapped. I could see a faint image of someone, Richard. I moaned. No, I'm Stephen. What's your name? Sandra, I mumbled. Sandra, okay, here, drink some water. He lifted my head and put the cup to my lips. You need to drink and eat, it's been too long. I tried to drink it, but felt most of it drizzle down on my chest. Again I heard an animal, and I shouted, no, and waved my arms in the air again. He's not gonna hurt you. You're okay, come here Max, he commanded the dog. He took my hand in his and I felt his fur as he stroked my hand over him. See, it's okay, don't be scared of him. I'm okay, I whispered over and over. Yes, he said as he waited patiently. Come on, open your eyes, he commanded as he propped me up on the pillows. You've got to drink, Sandra, do you hear me? Yes, I opened my mouth and he poured the water in. There you go, good. Look at me. Slowly I opened my eyes again and this time I could see him in front of me. I was startled by his appearance. He was dirty, his hair was long and dark, his beard was long and scruffy. I could barely see his face, just hair everywhere. Next to him sat a dog who whined at me. I remember seeing you, I said to the dog. I thought he was a wolf. I remember I tried to shoot him. It's a good thing you didn't, Max found you. He ran off ahead of me. I knew he was tracking something, but never imagined to find you, he explained. Richard. Did you find Richard? Is he okay too? I said, filled with hope. You've been asking for Richard for a few days now. A few days. I've been here a few days. I felt panicked. 4 days, and there was just you, I didn't see anyone else. He fell at the waterfall, I explained in a panic. Max found you about a mile from the falls. How did I get here? I couldn't remember anything after seeing what I thought was the wolf. I carried you, the stranger said matter-of-factly. Are we close to the falls? Maybe Richard is still there, maybe he's okay too. Could you go back and look? I pleaded. No, Sandra, no one else is still out there. It's been too long and the storms dumped a pile of snow on us. Max climbed up close to me on the bed and licked my hand. You saved me. I stroked his head as he laid down next to me. He's taking a liking to you for sure, Stephen said as he got up and walked over to the wooden counter. He cracked 2 eggs into a frying pan and placed it on top of the fire. A few seconds later he sat beside me. Here, eat, he said as he shoved a forkful into my mouth. I was hungry for sure. Do you have a phone? I said with my mouth full of eggs. No, he laughed out loud. Do you have a car? No, again he laughed. There's no roads up here. We can't just drive down the mountain and we can't walk because it's damn near covered in 6 feet of snow. 6 feet? Richard said we were only going to get a couple of inches. What the hell were you doing up here anyway? He asked angrily. We were just exploring. Richard's done several extreme mountain hiking trips before and, idiot, this mountain is not for amateurs. He's not. I mean ... He wasn't an idiot. The tears began to fall as I defended Richard and raised my voice. Yeah, I shouldn't have said that, I guess. I'm not used to dealing with other people's feelings. It's just me and Max up here. How far away is town? 3 hours or so, on foot. You stay up here all alone, all the time, I said with amazement. Yeah, I like it that way, he defended himself, raising his voice a bit. Thank you for bringing me here, for saving me, I sniffled and tried not to cry. You should try to get up and walk some, Stephen said as he began pulling at my arm. Okay, I need to go to the bathroom. He laughed out loud. See that bucket, in the corner, that's the toilet. You can't be serious. I went to take the blanket off of me and was startled. Why am I naked? I shouted and quickly covered back up. Reality was setting in for me and I was beginning to become scared of this strange mountain man. You were wet, he glared at me with anger. You took my clothes off. Should I have left them on and let you freeze to death? Again he raised his voice at me. Where are they? I panicked. You can't wear them, they are full of blood. He got up and lifted the top to a small wooden chest. Here, put these on for now, he commanded as he threw me a pair of jeans, a sweatshirt, and then a pair of socks. Do you want underwear? He asked. No, thank you, I said, confused by his actions. I struggled to put the sweatshirt over my head, I was still so weak. I sat up and attempted to put a sock on my foot, but couldn't manage to do it. I started to cry again. He grumbled under his breath. I couldn't make out his words as he grabbed the socks from me and put them on. "Thank you," I whispered. My legs were black and blued from where I'd fallen several times, and my skin had a purple-blue tint to it. There was no blood on me though, or in the bed, I realized. I looked around the cabin for the first time. It was one large room with a rustic stone fire pit. There was a wooden table with one stool, the small chest, and a wooden counter with a few pots and dishes. The walls were made out of trees. I could still see the bark peeling off in a lot of areas. They looked as though they were standing upright, dug into the ground and then tied together. There were no windows or inside walls. And of course there was the bucket, which I desperately needed. I scooted my legs over the side of the bed, realizing it wasn't a real bed. It had 4 tree-like posts, and then thick rope intertwined between the wooden frame. A blanket lay on top of the rope. It was difficult for me to get out of, with my legs still being sore. I tried to stand and lost my balance. "Whoa, let me help you. I've been rubbing your legs, trying to get the circulation going through them again. You'll need to take it slow for a while." He glanced up to see my reaction. I didn't give him one. I didn't want to make him angry or seem ungrateful for what he had done for me so far. I was trying to be very cautious around this stranger. He led me by the arm to the bucket. "The plant there behind the bucket. Pick off the leaves to wipe yourself with. Turn around," I commanded. "Please." He muttered under his breath and did as I asked. He guided me as I stumbled to walk the short distance back to the bed. I reached for the jeans still laying there, knowing I couldn't put them on myself. The sweatshirt I was wearing was at least 5 sizes too big for me. It was more like a dress on me. I weighed about 140 pounds and was 54 tall. Stephen had to be 6'5" and at least 250 pounds. "Hold on to me, so you don't fall, and I'm gonna lift up your leg," he said as he grabbed the jeans from me impatiently. I did as he told me. He very gently pulled the pants up to my waist. He cuffed the bottom of the jeans so that I'd be able to walk, and I held them up with my hands. We went over to the fire pit. It was fairly warm in the cabin. He pulled over his stool for me to sit on. Max followed and sat right next to me. "What time is it?" I questioned. "I have no idea. What does it matter? Eat when you're hungry, sleep when you're tired. There's no need for a time in my world. Is there any chance you have a shower?" I hoped. "I have a bigger bucket and there's warm water on the fire." He didn't laugh this time. I think he knew my dumb questions were not meant as disrespectful, just ignorance on my part, as I myself soon realized. "Do you want to wash up?" he questioned. "No, I think I will just wait till tomorrow. When I feel stronger, could I lay back down?" Of course. He helped me back over to the bed. "Thank you." I laid back and closed my eyes, but shortly heard him making a commotion. I heard the sound of pouring water. It was dim in the cabin, having only the light from the glow of the fireplace. When I opened my eyes, I could see the mountain man standing in a huge bucket in front of the fire as he took a washcloth and used the warm water from the pot in the fire pit to wash. He was not facing me, but stood stark naked as he poured the warm water down his body and over his head, right in front of me. I tried not to look. "Move over." I heard and felt him lay next to me. "What are you doing?" I screeched. I was scared again. "I'm going to sleep," he replied matter-of-factly, just as Max jumped up too. "Please don't hurt me," I whispered. "What?" He sat up. "Hurt you? I've done nothing but help you and take care of you, for days now. I am not going to hurt you," he yelled in a stern, harsh tone. "What are you doing then, and why are you naked?" I started to cry again. "I'm naked because I just washed my clothes. They are soaking wet, and you have the only other change of clothes I own on you. As far as why I'm laying next to you, where the hell would you like me to be, huh?" He was looking right at me now, glaring in my tear-filled eyes. "Would you rather sleep on the floor now that you're coherent? Or maybe you'd rather go in the barn with the chickens?" He was angry. "No, I'm sorry, I just assumed the worst." I was embarrassed by my assumption now. He had been very kind to me so far. "I'm sorry. I'm very grateful to be here and to be warm again." "Yeah, I can tell," he said sarcastically. "Give me some blanket." He yanked at the quilt in anger and rolled over away from me. I didn't dare say another word. Before I knew it, I heard the faint snoring coming from Stephen and Max both. I closed my eyes and prayed again.
Chapter 3.
I was awakened by a loud banging sound. I opened my eyes, startled, remembering where I was. I didn't see Stephen or Max. I swung my legs onto the floor and steadied myself. I was a bit better than yesterday. I glanced around the small cabin, noticing another door at the back end of the house. I could hear the banging louder as I approached it. I entered to see Stephen hammering something. Inside, it looked like a small shed that had been attached to the cabin. There were several hand tools hanging up and I could see the chickens fenced into a small area. There was firewood carefully stacked from the floor to the ceiling. "You feeling better?" he asked without looking up at me. "Yes, here you go." He handed me a wooden stool that matched the other one at the table. "Now you have a place to sit and eat." I smiled slightly at him, then walked around to see the chickens and peeked into their pen. "Do you eat them?" I asked. "No, they are just for laying eggs. I shoot most of what I eat: turkey, squirrels, rabbits, deer." "Do you have a refrigerator?" He laughed. No, there is no electricity up here, remember?" "Right, that was a dumb question. No electricity, shower or toilet." I felt dumb. "How long have you been here?" "I don't keep a calendar, but if I had to guess, been more than 5 years." I gasped. How could anyone live here for so long and in such solitude? I didn't dare ask him. Why would anyone want to? It seemed crazy to me. "You hungry?" he asked. "Yes." "Grab a few eggs out of the pen." I did and then watched him as he walked over to a small cabinet-style door that was built into the wall. As he opened it, some snow fell onto the ground. He put his hand through the snow and pulled out a package of something. "This is where the meat is kept. You like rabbit?" "Anything will do." I was starving. "How do you keep other animals from eating your food outside?" I built a sort of freezer system around back so that I could access the meat without actually going outside. It's basically a box with a screen top that allows the snow to cover the food and freeze it. It's enough to keep critters out. Frozen meat doesn't have a smell to it. "That's pretty inventive," I complimented. "And then you cook everything over the fireplace." "When there's not so much snow on the ground, I cook the bigger meats and store them up for the winter, so we are really just reheating it in the fireplace." "Don't worry, I've never gone hungry and there's plenty for us both." "You've been very kind to me. I am very grateful." I smiled genuinely at him. "You're welcome," he smiled back. We sat at the rustic table eating and talking for quite a while. "Stephen, do you mind when I ask you questions about how you survive here?" "No, why would I mind? I just wanted to be sure. I don't want to offend you in any way." How do I politely ask him if he is a crazy psychotic serial killer? "Why do you stay here?" "I like it." "How did you find it?" I continued to quiz him, carefully choosing my words. "I didn't find it, I built it." "I choose to be here," he said as he laid his plate with leftovers on the floor for Max. "Oh, don't you have any family?" "No, just Max." "You feel strong enough to wash these dishes?" "Yes, of course." I searched for a sink, but didn't dare ask if there was in fact one here. "The blue bucket, see it there?" He pointed to the corner. "Give Max your plate with a little food left, then put the dishes in that bucket. Take the boiling water from the fireplace, let them soak and let the water cool down a bit, then wipe them off. But first I need to check your stitches." He motioned for me to come closer to him. "I have stitches," I said, confused. However, before I could finish he had yanked at my pants, easily pulling them to the floor. He grabbed my knee and put it on his leg. "These are ready to come out," he said, grabbing his pocket knife from his pants. He got up, went over to the fireplace and put the knife in the flames. "You stitched me up." "Yes, sit down." I did as he said. He grabbed my knee and began cutting the stitches out. He could use some definite improvement with his social skills. However, when I looked at him closer for the first time, I could see compassion in his eyes. I could feel his gentleness, even though he was commanding with his words. He seemed kind-hearted regardless of his sarcasm. I wondered what he looked like under all that hairy mess. "Thank you for taking care of me," I said, and saw him slightly grin. "Will you let me stay here till the storm's gone?" I asked. "You're going to be here a lot longer than that, Sandra. We can't get down the mountain until early spring." "But then you will let me go." My voice cracked a bit. I had no reason to be scared of him, but still, I wasn't sure yet. "You're not a prisoner here." He looked directly into my eyes, then got up and left the room and entered the shed. He slammed the door behind him. I wasn't sure about this mountain man yet. I think I hurt his feelings. It was stupid to ask him if he'd let me leave. I have to make the best of the situation and be thankful that I was here and alive. I got up and gave my plate to Max when I heard the shed door slam open. It startled me and I instinctively gasped. "You know what, Sandra, since you are going to be here for a while, we need to get a few things straight." "Okay," I said, slightly scared that he would banish me to the shed from now on. "I'm not going to walk around my own house on eggshells worrying what you're thinking." About me. I've been nothing but kind to you and I don't appreciate your insinuating differently. I didn't mean to upset you. I felt tears coming to my eyes. Would you like to leave? Go take your chances. It doesn't matter to me. No, I know I can't yet. This is what you get, like it or not. He motioned his arms around the cabin. I didn't choose for you to be here. Remember that when you're questioning my actions. This is why I stay up here, so I don't have to deal with people. Come on, Max, he called and turned in anger back to the shed, slamming the door again. I had definitely offended him. I decided to let him cool down a little while I cleaned the dishes. I saw a broom in the corner and swept up the floor, not because it was dirty, just to keep busy. As I looked closer, I realized, although the cabin was rustic, it was clean. I saw my clothes in the corner of the floor. I could see blood and urine stains, and my ski pants were torn at the knee. I wasn't sure if there was a special bucket for laundry. Is there a different soap? I'd have to check with Steven first. I supposed I should face him now rather than later. I cautiously entered the shed. He didn't even look up to acknowledge me. He was hammering another piece of wood. Steven, can we talk please? He ignored me. I didn't mean to insult you. Really, I am truly thankful to you. I watched him put down the hammer, let out a sigh and then stood waiting for me to say something else. It's all been a lot to take in. I know you didn't choose to have me here. I'm sorry I offended you. I could feel my breath becoming shorter. And no matter how hard I tried not to cry, it happened. I became hysterical and the tears poured. Don't cry, he said and took my hand in his. I shouldn't have yelled at you. Please don't cry. Why are you so scared of me? He spoke softly. I don't know, you have done nothing to make me afraid, I sobbed. I think it's just. I stopped myself. I can't tell him it's his appearance and the way he lives. It's just been a lot to handle. I'm okay. I wiped my tears and calmed down. I was going to wash my clothes. I'm not sure what bucket to use. He laughed a little. See, you're getting used to this place already. I'll show you. He dropped my hand and headed back inside. He showed me how and where to rinse the clothes, and then showed me how to brush my teeth with plant leaves. You okay now? He asked. Yes, what can I do to help out? You could start carrying some more firewood from the shed and stack it there by the fire pit. I usually put about 50 logs in here at a time. But you need to take it slow. Just bring a couple of pieces in, a few trips a day. It might be good exercise for you to build up your strength again. Yes, I agree. I will start it after I wash my clothes. Do you need any clothes washed? I wanted to keep busy. Only the ones you have on, after yours are dry. These are the only clothes you own. I said, surprised. Except for my snowsuit. What else do I need? I wear an outfit and have another while I wash the first. Yes, well, I will be sure to wash these when mine are dry, I assured him. Come here, he said as he walked to the shed. He tore up a piece of material, looked like an old sheet maybe. Here, this should hold those pants up, he said as he looped the material through the pant straps of the jeans I was wearing and then tied a knot at my waist. Now we have a belt to add to our wardrobe, he said, and I laughed out loud.
Chapter 4.
Stephen watched Sandra as she busied herself around the cabin. She seems to be healing from her ordeal, physically at least. He could tell she was more relaxed around him now. He had tried to watch his temper now that she was here. It had been so long since he even had a conversation with anyone other than Max. He couldn't help but notice how beautiful she was. She had auburn hair that was wavy and long. She was thin, tiny compared to him. He was surprised that she would have attempted such a dangerous trip in the first place. He didn't regret his decision to help her. He would not have been able to just leave her there out in the cold to die. However, living in such close quarters for the next several months would definitely be a challenge for him. It's not something he considered when he brought her back with him. Yet, they have managed for the past several weeks without any real issues. The sleeping arrangements were definitely becoming another challenge. It left him with no privacy whatsoever. He needed to release himself soon, and lying next to her was not helping. It had been years since he'd been with a woman. He remembered the girl he met at the bar when he went into town for supplies. His thoughts were interrupted by a rumbling sound. What the hell? He thought to himself. Sandra. He shouted as loud as he could and ran from the shed into the cabin. Come, Max. He hollered. I jumped, scared by his screams. What's wrong? What's that noise? He grabbed me hard, almost tackling me to the floor. He leaned over and grabbed the kitchen table, throwing it above our bodies as we lay crouched in the corner of the cabin. I could hear him shouting for Max, and then he came running to meet us under the table, barking loudly. What's happening? I shouted as the noise became louder. It's the snow from the mountain top. It's falling too fast. Lay down. He shouted and climbed on top of me. His large body was crushing my tiny frame. I couldn't move an inch. I heard a crashing sound coming from the back of the cabin and felt the air immediately become cold inside. I couldn't see anything with Stephen on top of me. "Are you okay?" I heard him say as the noise left as quickly as it had come. "Yes, I think so," I said as he jumped off of me. "Max, hey buddy, you okay too?" He hugged him tight and then stood up. "Fuck," I heard him scream. I quickly jumped up too. What happened? When I saw it, the shed door was torn off, about 3 feet of snow poured into the cabin through the doorway, and we couldn't see through to the shed area any longer. He started trying to push his way through the snow with his bare hands. "Help me," he shouted. "We have to get to the chickens." I tried to dig my way through with him, but it seemed no matter how much we tried to push the snow away, the more that continued to fall into the house. Our hands were red and our feet were wet. "Stop," he said. "It's not working. I don't hear them, they must be gone." "Fuck." He turned to look at the fire, which was now out. The snow had come through and covered almost the entire opening. It was a large area surrounded with stones and heavy wires. "Go and put on all the clothes you have on your body," he ordered. I did as he said quickly and he did the same. "Put this hat on and the gloves," he threw them to me. "What are we going to do?" I asked, scared to death. It was getting colder by the minute. He used his bare hands to move the snow out of the fireplace. Again more and more fell into the house. "Get a bucket." I grabbed two and we started removing the snow from the opening. After about 50 bucket fills, the snow seemed to have stopped coming down the chimney. "Find me anything that will burn, quick." He searched his pockets and found his lighter. The first thing I saw were the stools he had made. I handed him one. "Good, grab the other one, move the table here too." I did as he told me to and watched him as he smashed the furniture onto the floor until it broke into smaller pieces. He tried to light the burnt-out logs that were still in the fireplace. "Stephen, your hands," I shouted. They were bright red and were starting to blister. I took off my gloves and shouted, "Put these on." He hesitated and then took them. "There's the broken door." I told him. "No, we will need that." "Stephen, there's the plant holders, they are made of wood." "Yes, good, dump the dirt and bring them here." He had gotten a small flame going in the fireplace. There was not much firewood left inside because I had only been carrying a bit at a time each day. "Start sweeping this snow up and move it to the corner by the shed door." He got up and tossed the blanket off the bed, cut the ropes, then smashed the frame into pieces as well. "Come here and warm up. The fire's kicking up now." He took his gloves off and put his hands close to the flames. "Stephen, are you okay?" I said and sat next to him on the floor. "I'm fine." He stared into the flames. He looked so angry. Max came and cuddled on my legs. "Was it an avalanche?" I asked. "No, we wouldn't be here if it were. The shed's got to be destroyed. We've got to get that door back up and closed off to keep it warm in here." "Okay, how?" He got up and grabbed the rope he had cut from the bed. He set the door pieces on the floor over the ropes and tied knots around it. "Look around for something I can use to screw the door back in with." "All my tools are in the shed." I searched the small cabin feeling hopeless when I noticed a pair of scissors laying on the top shelf over the dish area. "Will this work?" "Yes, bring it here. Hold this door up while I try to fasten it back on." "Wait." He got all the buckets he could find and started filling them with snow. "What's this for?" I grabbed one and started filling it too. "We need water, the pump is in the shed on the back wall." Assuming there is still a wall. I heard desperation in his voice and it scared me. Stephen was able to reattach the door temporarily. The rope seemed to be holding the wood together. There was a slight breeze coming through, but nothing in comparison to it being off. "We need to go around the cabin walls and peel off whatever bark we can to burn." He grabbed the small chest and then the shelf too. There was nothing left to burn. "How long will all this last us?" I asked him. "Through the night, hopefully." He saw the panicked look on my face. "It will be okay, come here." He laid out the bed blanket on the floor in front of the fireplace, which had now dried. "Are your feet wet?" "It's hard to say, they are a little cold." "Here." He took off my boot, then my sock. They were just starting to heal. "We don't want you getting too cold again." He moved my foot very close to the flames and rubbed it. "Lay back and try to relax," he said. "Oh, you have found my weakness. I could relax in the middle of a hurricane if someone rubbed my feet." I laid back on the floor with my one leg up in the air as he massaged it. "Are you worried, Stephen?" "No," he said bluntly. "What are we gonna do?" "Tonight we are going to simply stay warm and rest. Tomorrow at daylight we will deal with the rest." He was reassuring. He stayed calm through it all. "You think of every important thing, like the buckets for water and not burning the rope. How did you learn to survive so well?" I was in the service for a while, he said, and then took off my other shoe and placed them close to the fire. Really? I exclaimed. Why are you so surprised? He asked, rubbing my other foot. I'm sorry, you just don't look like you've been in the service, I said cautiously. What should I look like? I don't want you to get mad at me again, I said softly. I won't get mad, tell me. I want to know. His eyes pierced with mine. I would have thought you'd keep your hair short and not of that beard, is all. I understand that. It used to be really short back then. Hell, I haven't looked in a mirror for more than 5 years, now that I think of it, he laughed out loud. What branch were you in? It was a long time ago. I don't want to talk about it, he snapped, and then put my socks back on. They were so warm from being by the fireside. I sat up and put my boots back on. Stephen, we have the scissors, I said excitedly. Yes, what do you need them for? Can I cut your hair? What? No, I have more important things to worry about now. But you said there was nothing else to do tonight. We have to wait till morning to see the damage, and I'm not ready to sleep yet, please. No, he insisted. Okay, well then tell me about when you were a soldier. Where were you stationed? I knew him well enough to know that this conversation bothered him, and he'd do about anything to get me to stop talking about it. Get the scissors. Seriously, I jumped up. If it makes you stop asking questions, he said bluntly. I jumped up. Can you sit on your knees, please? He did, and I began cutting. I cut the first piece just at his neckline. There's no going back now, I said. I continued all the way across his neckline and then went as short as I could around his ears. Oh my gosh, I said. You look so different already. Is different good or bad? He seemed a little worried. Good, for sure. You remember when you asked me why I was scared of you when I first got here? Yes. Well, to be honest, your appearance was a bit intimidating. I mean, now that I know you better, it doesn't matter. If it doesn't matter, why are you cutting my hair? He said sarcastically. Look here, in the scissors, can you see yourself? It looks great. He took the scissors and studied himself for a few minutes. Do the beard too. Okay, secretly, I was so glad he'd asked. I wasn't going to. I tried to get it as short as possible all around his face, and trimmed up his mustache so I could actually see his lips now. I smiled at him when I was finished. He took the scissors and admired himself. Then, he got up and went searching through the cans that had been on the shelf, dumping out each one until he found what he was looking for. He held up a small razor blade. Come hold the scissors up for me to see, he said, and then grabbed the soap and lathered his neck up. I did as he told me and watched as he used the scissors as a mirror again. He took the razor's edge and slid it up his neck to his chin. He continued until he had almost a perfectly shaped rugged beard. Then he smiled, pleased with his image. Wow, it's amazing, I can see your face. I laughed. I like it much better. I started laughing so hard at my next thought. What's so funny? He asked angrily. Well, in my mind, I call you the mountain man, cause of your beard and hair. I ran my fingers through his newly cut hair, slightly pushing it to one side. Now, I don't have a nickname for you. It's nice to meet you, Stephen. I held my hand out to shake his. He laughed too and shook my hand. It's nice to meet you, Sandra. I couldn't stop looking at him. It was like a whole different person was standing in front of me, an attractive person. We should sleep. Tomorrow's going to be a busy day, he said as he fed the fire more wood and then laid down on the floor. You can be closest to the flames. He motioned for me to lay down. Come on, Max, he commanded, and the dog came running, scooching right next to me. He does like you, Stephen said. I put my arm around Max and snuggled with him in front of the fire. I was exhausted and hungry. Oh my God, Stephen, I shouted and turned to him. What is it? He said, worried. How are we going to get to the freezer? What are we going to eat? It just now hit me. And there won't be any more eggs. It's okay, I will figure it out tomorrow, he stayed calm. But what are you going to find in this weather and how? I should never have gotten on that damn plane. I should never have gone down to that waterfall. Oh God, we are gonna freeze to death or starve. I was hyperventilating. I'm already hungry. Listen to me. He came close to me and put his arm around me. I didn't carry you a mile through the snow and down the mountain to let you freeze to death or starve now, I promise, he spoke softly. You are still my mountain man to the rescue, I smiled slightly. But, really, how are we gonna eat? How long will it take for that snow to melt in the shed? I had so many questions for him. SHH, you don't have to worry about any of that. I'm going to tell you the truth about me, if you promise not to ask any more questions afterwards. He stroked my hair softly. Say you promise. I promise, I whispered. I was a Navy SEAL in the service. I am more than trained for any emergency that arises, and trust me, I have been in worse situations than this. We will be fine, I promise you. He looked directly in my eyes the entire time he spoke. So I tried to ask. You promised, he snapped. I searched his eyes for comfort. I shook my head and then rolled over towards the fire again. Stephen stayed close to me with his arm still around me. I grabbed his hand in mine and lay silently, trying to trust in him and keep my promise to him. Being nestled between him and Max was comforting and warm. Later, I heard commotion as Stephen fed the fire during the night. It was difficult sleeping on the floor, and since we only had the one blanket, it was being used to cushion the floor instead of on top of us. We were still bundled in all of our layers, but as the late night arrived, so did the chill. I could hear the wind whistling through the cracks of our shed door. The next time I slightly opened my eyes, it was pitch black in the cabin. The fire had gone out. I was freezing. I didn't feel Stephen's touch anymore. I reached over to feel that he was still next to me. You okay? He said. Yes, I'm a little cold. He rolled over and snuggled next to me, putting his whole body alongside mine and wrapping his arm and broad chest and legs across my body. It will be daylight soon. It will warm up then. Stephen, thank you for everything you do for me. If I had $1 million, I would give it to you, I teased. I have plenty of money, but thank you, he laughed. Are you teasing me? No, he said, confused. Did you mean to say you don't need any money? No, I meant what I said. I have plenty. How? Where? I get a check each month from the government. It goes directly into the bank. I don't use much. All I need is money for ammo and a few basic supplies once a year. I don't use the rest. Go back to sleep. Stephen, what? I was afraid to tell him. I have to pee. Damn, can't you wait? No. He moaned and unzipped his snow pants. He shoved his hand into his pocket and pulled out a small flashlight. Here. When I came back, I handed him the flashlight. Leave it on the floor. I'm not undoing my snowsuit again. It's cold. I laid back down. Come close to me, Max. I scooted him. I waited for Stephen to lay back next to me too, but he didn't. Stephen, I whispered again. What? He said, aggravated. Could you come closer to me again? He did, just as before, overtaking my whole body with his. He made me feel very protected.
Chapter 5.
The next several days were hard for both of us. It got freezing cold inside the cabin. We had eaten what was left of the garden items he had canned from the summer before. Stephen spent his days bucketing a path around the house and through the snow to reach the freezer and the firewood and to clear off a small area for Max to go to the bathroom. It was harder than going through the shed, but he said he didn't want to take a chance on moving all the snow inside, not being able to see what condition the roof was in, afraid of it collapsing on us. He assured me the cabin walls and roof were still solid. I heard him shouting from outside, Sandra, come here. I ran out, following his narrow path. I was literally walking between two snow piles that were taller than me. What is it? I asked, and then saw that he had in fact gotten to the freezer. Here, carry this stuff into the front of the house. There was a pile of meat left. Bury it under the snow as deep as you can, and mark it off with some branches. That will do until I can fix this mess up. I'm going to start making a fire. And then bring a bunch of wood around front. Okay, I will, but why can't we just leave it now? We can get to it, I asked. I'm not going to take a chance that the snow falls over my path or collapses. I damn sure am not bucketing it out of the way again, he explained. He had been working hard for days now, with barely any food. As strong as he was, I could see it was taking a toll on him. I took it upon myself to refill our water buckets with snow and put on a pot of water with some of the meat I'd just gotten to make some warm soup for us. I also filled our tub water and put it by the fire to start warming it up. I needed to wash up and was sure Stephen did too. He entered the cabin just as it was beginning to get dark. He sat on the floor in front of the fire. I'm impressed you thought to do all this, Sandra. Thank you, it's a great help. I'm exhausted and sore. You don't have to thank me, I said, and brought 2 bowls over, poured out the soup and sat down next to him. I'm glad I can do something to help take care of us. The soup was a perfect idea, he said as he slurped it down fast and then helped himself to more. Well, it would be much better with a few more spices and vegetables, but it is warming me up. I helped myself to another bowl full too. I need to bathe tonight, Stephen. Me too, he said with a mouthful of meat. He stuck his hand into the bucket of water in front of us. It's warm now, do you want to go first? Yes, but you can't go to the shed anymore to give me privacy. I sure as hell ain't going back outside, Sandra, I'm just getting warmed up. It's no big deal, I have seen you naked before. When I was unconscious and didn't know it, I exclaimed. Listen, I can't fix this mess in a day, he said shortly. I'm not waiting any longer. He put his bowl down in front of the fire, stood up and started removing his clothes. He pulled the tub in front of the fire and stepped in. He poured the water over his head, grabbed the soap and started whistling. It feels so good to clean up. Sandra, you should do it, he teased me. I remained sitting on the floor, 2 feet from where he bathed, staring into the fire. He laughed. There's no room for shyness in this cabin. He continued to soap his body. I've been wanting to ask you something. Was Richard your husband? No, we were sort of dating. Did you love him? No, it was a casual relationship. I have never been in love, have you? I asked. Nope, and I don't plan to. Me either. I turned and looked up to smile at him, forgetting for that split second that he was stark naked next to me. Sorry, I whispered and turned away. It's okay. I am not hung up on being embarrassed. You will eventually have to join me, or you may have to spend the night on the other side of the cabin, he laughed. Are you saying I stink? I teased and smelled myself. I do kind of, I said sadly. No, you don't, not yet anyway. Okay, I stood up. Can you at least turn around? I started to undress slowly. I will try not to stare, but no promises. It is human nature. I wasn't sure how to take that remark but continued to undress, stepped into the other large bucket and poured the warm water over my body. It did feel good. I was used to showering daily. It's been too long since my last one. I noticed my legs were full of hair as well as my underarms. Do you have a real razor I could use? No, only the straight razor. He glanced at me. I couldn't help but notice him too. He was incredibly muscular. I might have to try it. I washed up as quickly as I could and then grabbed a towel to dry off and put my clothes back on. It takes a bit of practice. You have to push hard enough to get the hair off, but not so hard that you break the skin. I went over and grabbed the quilt, while Stephen dressed and moved both of our buckets. The cabin was warming up nicely. I didn't even need my snowsuit on tonight. Do you have any wax here? I asked. No, for what? He sounded confused. For my underarms and legs. Let me see. He pulled up my pant leg. No. I swatted at him, laughing, and pulled away. He was much stronger than me, and when he pulled my leg toward him, my whole body slid across the floor. He slid his hand up my calf. Oh, you're right. I may start calling you my mountain woman. He laughed and then let go. Don't you dare. I laughed. Wait, I know. I have masking tape. He jumped up and searched through the kitchen area. What is that for? I questioned sarcastically. It's just like waxing. No. Give me your leg again. You think? No, I was teasing you. But if you want to torture yourself, be my guest. No one here cares if you're hairy. I do. Give it to me. I tore a small piece off, placed it under my armpit and rubbed it over and over. I tried to peel off the edge and it hurt much worse than I imagined. Ouch. I can't get it off. I screamed. He just sat there laughing hysterically. Seriously, Stephen, I can't get it off. I told you. Do you want me to do it? I guess, try. I pulled my arm out of my shirt and held it up in the air. Just do it quick. I closed my eyes, still hearing him laughing hysterically, and then I felt it tore off. Shit. I screamed as loud as I could. That hurts. I held my armpit. I think we got it all. Look, he showed me the duct tape full of hair. I looked at my underarm. It had definitely worked. Give me another piece, I said. Are you kidding me? Damn, you are tough. After a few seconds of rubbing, I said, do it again, and raised the other arm. You are crazy. Then he yanked it off. Shit. I screamed again and looked at my underarm. That's much better, I said, surprised at how well it worked. Stephen was practically rolling on the floor, hysterically laughing. I have never in my life seen such ridiculous behavior. Are you going to do your legs next? Then maybe your eyebrows too. I think I will just stick with my underarms, I giggled. You're too funny, Sandra. I can't remember the last time I laughed so hard, Stephen said, smiling. I'm glad I could entertain you, I laughed. Aw, damn, I'm sore from moving all that snow, he said and stretched his back out. Would you like me to rub it for you? I asked, concerned for him. Yeah, that would be great. He laid down on his stomach, moaning. I sat down beside him and pushed as hard as I could on his shoulder blades. Does that make it feel better? For sure, keep going. Do it on my lower back too. He took his shirt off. Thank you, Sandra. Consider it payback for massaging my feet, I teased. Surprisingly, I have enjoyed your company, he said sincerely. Me too, I laughed. He rolled over onto his back, looked at me strangely for a few seconds and then sat up. He slowly took his hand and rubbed it across my cheek as he moved his head closer to mine. I felt his hand move to the back of my head and gently stroked my hair when his lips touched mine. Soft and slow at first, and then his tongue moved more aggressively. He moved swiftly and I felt him lean against my body as he urged me to lay on the floor. He lay on top of me, moved his tongue down to my neck. I could hear him breathing heavier. He slid his hands around my waist and then lifted my shirt up as I arched my back to meet his unspoken requests. I met his lips with passion and moved my hands across his bare chest, slowly feeling each and every bulge of his muscles. He slid my pants down and I waited eagerly as he removed his. When he lay back on top of me, I reached down past his belly to feel him. He was hard and ready to enter me. I stroked him for a few minutes as he licked my breasts. He played and teased with my nipples. I felt my torso rocking and longing for more of his touch. He took his time and slowly kissed his way down my belly and spread my legs with his arms. I heard myself moan with anticipation of what was to come. Again, he teased me with his tongue, taking his time to pleasure me. He had complete control of my body and seemed to know exactly how and what I needed. He used his fingers to enter me and then to play with me. I gasped with excitement and let him have total control of me until I could not control myself any longer, and I shook with pleasure. He then leaned above me as I lie there breathing heavy, still sensitive to his touch. He looked directly into my eyes as he entered me. I heard him moan and then watched him close his eyes as he became lost in the moment and moved to pleasure both of us. I felt his kiss again while he pushed inside of me, stronger and faster. My hands explored his back and then squeezed at this bottom, not wanting it to end. I felt him grab a hold of my back as he cradled me and turned us over to make me lie on top of him. I looked into his eyes and smiled as I sat up and rubbed his chest. I wanted him to feel as good as he had made me feel. I moved my torso up and down and felt him move harder and stronger inside of me. I arched my back and let myself be exposed to him, not feeling shy or inhibited. I felt his hands on my bottom as he squeezed and lifted me to meet his movements. He sat up, hugging my back and sucked on my breasts as I continued to move on top of him. I wrapped my arms around his neck, kissed his lips and felt him release himself into me. He laid back, bringing me with him atop of his chest and held me as he breathed hard. I laid completely satisfied on him and held him tight. "It's been a really long time since I've done that," he said. I didn't realize how much I'd missed having contact with someone else. I smiled and then asked him, "Has it been 5 years since you've touched someone?" "No, there were a couple of times when I went into town, in the beginning," he explained. "Well, I'd say you didn't forget how." I teased and kissed him again and then rolled off, cuddling next to him. I did miss the taste of a woman, even one with hairy legs. I swatted his bare bottom. We laughed as we lay naked together, exhausted and satisfied as the fire crackled and kept us warm.
Chapter 6.
The storm had passed, the snow was melting and we were busy repairing the shed. It amazed me how Stephen chopped the trees down, rolled them to where he needed them to be, then made a pulley with rope to hoist them to a standing position and buried the ends into the ground for support, roped them together and created a wall. I helped where I could, but mostly continued to clean up the inside of the shed, picking up the loose tools, smashed cages and gathered the chickens. Stephen said to bury them in the snow so that they would stay frozen, then he could eventually use them to bait an animal he could kill for us. It was a difficult cycle for me, but I knew it was necessary. I took over most of the cooking, dishes, wash, and made sure there was always plenty of water for us inside to use for cleaning and bathing. We were able to fix the freezer and moved the meat over and now had use of the water pump again. Stephen continued to show me how to survive up here. He always made sure to explain how and why he did everything. He made me practice using his guns too. He said the animals would be coming around soon and they'd be hungry. He told me that a lot of the time, he didn't have to track an animal, he just had to wait till it came by. It scared me. I was never allowed to go outside without the shotgun now. "You're very quiet tonight," I said as we ate dinner sitting by the fire. "Just thinking," he was distracted. "I know how to get your attention," I said as I kneeled in front of him and pushed his shoulders back to the floor. I slid his pants down past his waist. He laughed. "You are very good at distracting me." I smiled and put my mouth around him. I do like the taste of my mountain man." I looked up as I teased him with my tongue. He moaned with excitement, laid back, gladly accepting my advances. Afterwards, he pulled his pants up and said, "Sandra, it will be spring soon. I'm ready for warmer weather. Do you still want to leave?" he asked. I have to." I hadn't considered that my time was about up here with Stephen. "You don't have to," he insisted. Are you going to choose to leave? I can't stay here. I can't just not let my mother know I'm okay. I understand, he hesitated. You could go and see her or call her and then come back. His eyes searched mine for answers. I can't just stay here. I can't live here forever, like you. Not that I want to leave you, Stephen, but he had to understand. Yeah, I get it. We'll start making plans in about 2 weeks. We can probably leave in 3. Okay. I got up and busied myself with the dishes. Stephen went into the shed. I wanted to say something more to him. I wanted him to comfort me. I was sad thinking about leaving him. We had become so close to each other. I have spent 24 hours a day, having every conversation with only him, and I definitely loved being with him physically. I wondered if I loved him. I guess if I have to ask myself, the answer must be no. Still, I've never felt the way I do about him with anyone else. I depended on him for sure, but there was much more to us. I shared some of my most intimate thoughts with him. I told him things about me that I'd never shared with anyone before. He knew my fears with relationships. I could never be happy living without a bathroom, a shower, a phone, real food, pedicures. There is just no way. I haven't been totally spoiled throughout my life, but these were necessities I needed. Any normal person would want them. Not that Stephen wasn't normal, but he definitely was the exception to the rule when it came to wanting basic needs. We slept side by side that night as usual, but I felt a distance between us. Stephen, are you awake? I knew he wasn't. I heard him snoring. What's the matter? He mumbled. Nothing, I was just thinking, and I rolled over to look at him. You could come with me. I searched his eyes for a reaction. You don't have to stay here. We could. Sandra, I can't, he said with no emotion. Why? I made my decision a long time ago. You're allowed to change your mind, I pleaded. I don't do well with people, I've told you that. He rolled away from me. You do fine with me, it could be exciting for you. You can stay with me and… No, he raised his voice. You're not even going to discuss it. I was getting angry. No, it's not an option. You can choose to stay here. No, that's not an option. I waited for him to respond, but he didn't. I sat up. Fine, then I guess it's been nice knowing you. I shouted. Go to sleep, Sandra, he said, aggravated. Why couldn't you just try, Stephen? I spoke louder and louder. I was frustrated with him. I have spent months up here with you. I know what life would be like here. You haven't even tried to go back to civilization. Stop raising your voice at me. He rolled over to face me. I'm angry. We are going to talk about it, I demanded. No, we are not. He looked at me sternly, like I'd never seen him do before. But still I pushed, so you can just say goodbye to me. Forever and not even care. I do care, he whispered. Please, just think about it. He didn't respond. I laid back down, frustrated and disappointed with him as I thought about going home and starting life over again. The following morning we got up and did our usual routines. We didn't say much to each other, but did share a few looks of endearment. Stephen left with the shotgun, announcing he was going hunting. He dug up a few of the chickens I had buried and left. I looked around the cabin, and other than my memories of Stephen, I would not miss this place. I decided here and now I would never go on another outdoor adventure like I did with Richard. I would never again risk my life for a few moments of pleasure. I sat on the tree stump outside enjoying the warmer weather when in the distance I heard a gunshot. It had to be Stephen shooting a deer or a squirrel, but then I heard several more shots one after the other and knew something was wrong. I grabbed the other shotgun I had brought outside with me and looked for Stephen's footprints in the snow. There was about 4 inches left on the ground now. I could easily see where he had stepped. I ran as fast as I could and shouted, Stephen. Max was barking alongside of me. I had only gotten about 100 feet from the house when I heard him yell back, Sandra, run into the house, go. I saw him through the trees running back towards me. Go, now, he shouted again. Max ran towards him. Then I saw it, a huge black bear chasing him, not far behind. He stopped, turned and took 3 more shots towards the bear. I saw it stumble a bit, then I turned and ran back towards the house. I tried to be quick but kept turning to see how far behind Stephen was when I noticed the bear was getting closer to him. I stopped running. I was panting and out of breath. I gasped, Stephen, he's getting too close to you. I held my gun up and aimed in his direction. Get in the house, he shouted, still running. I have no more bullets. He was now about 50 feet from me and the bear was not 10 feet from him. Stephen, get down. I shouted and held my stance, aiming at the bear but knowing I couldn't shoot towards Stephen. Now, I cocked the gun in position with my finger ready to pull the trigger. Stephen dove to the ground, rolling to the side. Max went after Stephen, and I shot over and over until I had no bullets left. The bear continued to stumble towards Stephen as he got up to run again, and it eventually reached him, clawing at his legs as Stephen kicked him and Max bit at the bear. After 3 or 4 times, the bear finally fell to the ground. I stayed frozen in place as I watched Stephen get up, limping towards me. I didn't take my eyes off of the bear for a minute. I was afraid he'd get up and come at us again. Stephen finally reached me, hugged me tight, used his gun as a cane and leaned on me as he hobbled to the house. He was bleeding badly from his right leg. I could see the blood gushing from his pants when he sat. He immediately pulled them down to the ground and shouted for me to get a cloth to tie his leg up. Find a needle and wire in the shed. It should be right by the door when you enter, to the left in a can. Hurry, you're going to have to stitch it up before I lose too much blood. Hold the needle and wire over the fire for a few seconds first and then sew it, just like you did your pants. You have to pull really hard between each stitch. You can't worry about hurting me. You understand? He was panting and going pale. Yes, I shouted and followed his directions. Help me to the floor. Why, I think I might pass out, he said and toppled off of the stool. I was not strong enough to hold him up. Stephen. Oh God, Stephen. His blood puddled on the floor. It looked like the gash on his leg was 2 or 3 inches deep. I took the needle and wire and stuck it in his leg. It bled even more with every stitch, until I was covered in blood as well. I pulled hard, like he told me to do. I lost count, but must have sewn at least 50 stitches into his leg. Afterwards, I cleaned up the blood on the floor. I fed the fire. I knew not to let it burn out. I tried to revive Stephen, but couldn't. He was definitely breathing, but not responding. I cleaned up myself, reloaded both shotguns and placed them by my side as I laid with Stephen. I whispered in his ear, "You're going to be okay, do you hear me? Don't you dare leave me, Stephen." After an hour or so, he started to come back around. He screamed in agony and tried to grab his leg. "Don't touch it, Stephen, no." I kept pushing his arm away. "Help me sit up, so I can see my leg," he commanded. "No, just lie still. It stopped bleeding." "You're sure?" he questioned me. "Yes, I'm sure, just relax." I rubbed his head and put my arm around him. "You did good, Sandra." He put his arm around me. I finally cried. Now that I knew he was okay, I let it out. I was so scared. "I hate this place, Stephen. I hate it. I want to go home, please," I sobbed. "I can't take any more. First Richard and now you. It's too much." "I know, it's okay. Come here and hold me," he sighed.
Chapter 7.
Stephen's leg was healing nicely, and he was able to go back to his usual duties. We hadn't spoken about me leaving again. The snow was just about gone on the ground now. Stephen and I stood washing each other's bodies that night. He glared at me and I knew he longed to talk. There were no words between us though, just the feel of his touch on me. He kissed me passionately and I knew so well what was coming next. We laid together sharing each other's bodies, as we routinely did. We could not get enough of each other. We longed to explore every part of our bodies. The following morning, Stephen rolled over towards me. "Sandra, we can leave today. I've packed a small bag of necessities and loaded the guns. We should head out early." "What? Today? You never said anything to me," I questioned. I didn't want to ruin the time we had left. He stood up and began dressing. "Why today? Do you want to stay longer?" He didn't wait for my answer. He already knew it. He put his shoes on and walked to the front door. "I will be waiting for you outside." I didn't say anything to him as he walked out. I looked around the cabin as if I were saying goodbye to it. "Come here, Max." I hugged him tight. I would miss him. "I'm ready, Stephen," I said as I walked out of the cabin. I grabbed his hand in mine and felt him staring at me. I didn't want to look at him. If I made eye contact with him, I would just start to cry. I couldn't change my mind and I couldn't convince him to change his. So we walked in silence for a couple of hours. The mountain was steep and full of jagged rocks. Stephen helped me when I needed it, without me asking. "Let's take a break for a while," he said, pulling out a water jug from his backpack. He poured some out for Max to catch with his mouth, and then handed it to me. "Stephen, I need you to know how much you mean to me and I know I owe you my life. These past few months have been one disaster after another and yet meeting you. I've never felt so close to someone before." I went and sat on his lap. "Can't I convince you to come with me?" I leaned in and kissed him softly. "Please, I don't want to leave you, just this mountain." He took both his hands around my cheeks and looked directly into my eyes. I never imagined I'd ever meet someone who could make me feel the way that you do, Sandra. I understand you have to go. I know this mountain is not a life you'd ever choose, but it is the life I've chosen. Make me understand why. You have to tell me. I hugged him. I had a family a long time ago. A younger brother, mother, and father. We had the picture-perfect childhood and it was destroyed in an instant. I left the service to attend his trial and I lost it. I went after him in the courtroom and snapped his neck right there in front of everyone. I killed him and I'm not sorry I did. His eyes filled up with tears but his face showed anger like I'd never seen before. His face became flushed and his fists clenched as he spoke. He killed your family, I whispered in horror. Yes, he shot every one of them at our home, just to get a damn TV, a few laptops, and phones. I'm so sorry, Stephen. I held him tight. I watched people differently afterwards. I'd see them in the bars mistreating their girlfriends or two guys fist fighting over a stupid football game and it just made me crazy. He hesitated. I am afraid I might snap and kill someone else again. I took his face in my hands and looked at him with tears in my eyes. Stephen, I know you and I know you are good and kind. It's understandable that you could snap seeing that man right in front of you, knowing what he did to your family. You have compassion for others and you are capable of loving again. I love you, Sandra. I don't want to, but I do. I love you, Stephen. I said it so easily, without hesitation. I had no doubts about my feelings any longer. We kissed passionately. I'd always known something had to have happened to him to make him stay away from the world, but I never imagined what he just told me. I'd assumed it had to do with being in the Navy SEALs. I was wrong and knew now I wouldn't be able to change his mind about coming with me to start a new life. We should keep going, he said and lifted me off of him. Okay, I smiled. We finally made it down the mountain and onto a paved road. Are you okay walking some more? He asked. How much further is it? Maybe another hour. I sighed out loud and then grabbed his shoulders from behind and spread my legs across his broad back. He held my legs tight as he carried me. I leaned over and kissed his cheek. How long can you carry me, my strong mountain man? I think we're good for a while. He smiled and Max followed behind us. I noticed more cars on the road as we got closer to town. It was beginning to like civilization again. It was a quaint town with a small strip of retail stores, Walmart and a few restaurants. We'll need to go the bank first, he explained, and then rent a car to get to the airport. I interrupted, and go to McDonald's. I exclaimed, I want a Big Mac and French fries. He put me down. Sounds good, he said. We entered the bank and Stephen asked for $3,000 from his account. When he asked for his balance, I saw the teller write down $475,826. When we exited, I said, You have almost $500,000, Stephen. I told you I had plenty of money. Would you like something better than McDonald's? I swatted him. Do you have any other secrets you'd like to tell me? It wasn't a secret. I told you I had plenty. How? I asked. My parents had life insurance. Okay, then I want to go to Walmart and buy underwear and an outfit to change into and new socks. Oh my God, and a chocolate bar, and I want to shower. And have a huge steak. I went on and on, while Stephen just smiled at me. I have missed civilization for sure. Anything you want, he said and grabbed my hand. You need a new outfit too, I said. Do I? I didn't respond, just made a face at him, and he knew I was right. I need a phone, Stephen. I have to call my mother. Okay, we can pick up a track phone for now. I'll grab it while you get an outfit. We can meet at the register. I looked through the department for something, besides jeans and t-shirts. I picked out 2 long dresses, then went to the shoe department. I was tired of hiking boots too. I was trying on a pair of wedges when I heard Stephen, What the heck is taking you so long? I've been looking all over for you. Sorry, I want to wear something nice for a change. I held my dresses up and smiled with excitement. Are you ready now? He held a new pair of jeans and a t-shirt in his hands. Let's get you something different too, just for today, for our dinner. Come on, I will help you look. I took his hand and headed over to the men's department. Do you like this? I held up a blue button-down shirt. I like what I have in my hands. Okay, well, get those and these. I smiled and held up a pair of slacks too. Fine, he murmured. Afterwards, Stephen went to the rental car agency while I sat with Max and found a quiet place to call my mother. She was not shocked to hear from me. She said she'd assumed I'd run off with a man. She hadn't considered I could be dead. I asked her to check on flights for me back to Colorado. There was one tomorrow at noon. I convinced her to book it for me. I tried to explain what had happened to me, but as usual, she seemed more interested in telling me what was going on in her life. She had met someone else, of course, and thought they may even get married. I hung up feeling the same as always did after talking to her, disappointed. I phoned the office next, not because I was concerned about my position, but felt I owed it to Richard's father to give him an explanation about his son. It was one of the hardest conversations I'd ever had with someone. He was heartbroken and thankful at the same time to have closure. He'd said the helicopter driver had told him we never showed back up on that Sunday afternoon and that he had found our campsite, with us nowhere to be found. He genuinely thanked me for my phone call. "Excuse me, miss, would you like a ride?" I heard Stephen say. I looked up to find him driving a sporty SUV. "Yes, thank you, sir," I said and climbed in. "You remember how to drive?" "Of course, it's like riding a bike." He smiled and we drove off. I gave him my flight information. He said the airport was about an hour away. I leaned over and turned on the radio. I heard, "You make me feel like dancing." I turned up the volume and started singing along. I missed music. I shouted to Stephen. I raised my hands in the air and shook my shoulders as I sung. I smiled over at Stephen and then he joined in too. He laughed and then raised his voice to meet mine. The two of us flipped through the stations the rest of the car ride as if we didn't have a care in the world, only this moment, so happy to be carefree. We pulled over at a Hampton Inn near the airport. I cannot wait to shower. I ran into the bathroom, turned the water on, and started stripping. "I will be back shortly." Stephen stuck his head in and said, "Where are you going?" I asked. "I just need to get a few more things." "Okay, I will be right here for at least the next hour," I moaned. "This feels amazing." I laughed and heard him close the door as I steamed up the bathroom. I washed my hair over and over. I shaved my arms and legs and even trimmed up my bikini area. I used a real toothbrush and actually brushed my hair. It all felt so wonderful to me. I slipped my dress on and blew my hair dry. I heard Stephen come back in the room. I turned to see him entering and our eyes met with excitement. "Stephen, your beard's gone." "Oh my gosh, look at you." I went over and felt his cheek with my hand. "And you got a haircut." I ran my fingers through his thick dark hair. "You are very handsome." I leaned up and kissed his bare cheek for the first time. "I like it," I whispered. "I like your dress," he smiled. "And you smell like perfume," he grinned. "You look absolutely amazing." He kissed me passionately. "It's the shampoo, you have to try it." "I am so excited for our date night," I said. "I saw a nice-looking steak house not far down the road," he explained. "Steak sounds great," I said. "I can be ready shortly. Let me quick shower and change too." When Stephen came out I could not believe my eyes. He looked so handsome. "Wow, you don't look like my mountain man anymore," I teased. "Except for the hiking boots," I laughed. "You ready?" "I am." He took my hand and kissed it. We sat at the restaurant talking, eating, and drinking. It was just like a real date between two normal people. Anyone else looking at us would never guess the horrors we had gone through being up on that mountain, in that cabin. I'd secretly hoped that after a taste of civilization again, perhaps Stephen would change his mind after all. We laughed, we teased and never seemed to run out of things to talk about, even after all this time alone. On the drive back to the hotel room I couldn't resist. I said, "Stephen, you seemed so comfortable tonight." "I have had a wonderful time so far." "So far. Did you have something else planned?" "Yes, I planned on going to our room and taking that pretty dress off of you," he said sarcastically. I laughed, but wanted to know more. Tomorrow was coming quickly and I needed to know if he'd changed his mind. "Stephen, don't you think it would be a little exciting to try to accept civilization again?" He grabbed my hand as he drove into the parking lot of the hotel. "I'm trying to be who you want me to, today. And yes, it's been fun. Let's not ruin the rest of the night talking about tomorrow, okay?" I shook my head and tried to bite my tongue. We entered the hotel room and before the door shut behind us, I felt Stephen grab me at the bottom of my dress. "Come here," he said and lifted it over my head. He laughed. "What's so funny?" I said confused. "I've never seen you wear underwear." "I like it." He backed me up to the bed, got on his knees in front of me and kissed my thigh. "It's very sexy," he whispered as he licked my belly. I giggled and rubbed his hair through my fingers over and over. "Oh, Stephen," I whispered, wanting him to give me more. He slowly pulled down my panties and pleasured me over and over again, until I finally pulled away. He laid on top of me, filling my body with his. Afterwards he looked deeply into my eyes, still breathless, and said, "I love you. I love you, Stephen." Tears filled my eyes. "What are we going to do?" I felt him pull out of me and then rolled onto his side, cradling me. "I don't have the answers," he said, holding me. "Can you just leave me tomorrow? Never see me again after you've just told me you love me." I needed answers. "Can you?" He defended himself. "I can't go back," I pleaded. "Let's not talk about it." I sat up. "We have to talk about it now, Stephen. I'm leaving tomorrow. I have no way to get in touch with you again. You're going to let me go, aren't you?" I rolled over in anger, waiting for him to say something, anything, but he didn't. "So, I made the mistake, Stephen. I'm sorry for what happened to your family, really, but you have got to come back to reality. It's been 5 years, you can't keep. Don't tell me what I can and can't do, Sandra." He raised his voice slightly. "I am going to tell you. You can't just stay up on that damn mountain and not face the world. Your family wouldn't want you to. You have to try to. You have no idea what I have been through. You have no idea what the real world is like. You have been spoiled and you're unappreciative of what you have been lucky enough to have. Maybe you are the one who needs to accept reality and deal with your mother. Learn to be happy you have her before she is gone. Don't throw her back in my face. Maybe not having a mother is better than having one who doesn't want you." I started to cry. "Don't you dare, Sandra, don't ever say that again. I am not who you need. I cannot be who you want me to," he shouted. I saw tears in his eyes. He jumped up, pulled his pants and shirt on. "Where are you going?" I shouted. "I need to get away from you," he snapped. "You will have plenty of time away from me, starting tomorrow," I shouted back. I watched him put his shoes on. "You can't leave now, Stephen," I said impatiently. He took out the rest of the cash he had in his pocket and threw it on the table. "Here, you might need cash on your trip. You can call a cab to the airport." "I can't do this, Sandra." He stuffed his things into his backpack. "Are you kidding me? You are going to run away, instead of facing your fears. I guess you haven't learned much in the past 5 years, have you, Stephen? Go ahead, run away to your mountain. Go hide away from everyone and make sure you never get hurt again. Come, Max," he shouted and walked out the door. I looked out the window and watched him get into the rental car. He didn't start it, he just sat there. I stormed back into bed, angry and hurt. I assumed he would come back up after he cooled off. I closed my eyes and waited.
Chapter 8.
I opened my eyes, seeing the sunlight through the window. I rolled over to look for Stephen, who wasn't there. I jumped up to look out the window and seen the rental car was gone. He had left me. How dare he just walk away? Why did he even bother telling me he loved me if he knew he would just walk away? I stormed into the shower and then cried. I didn't want to, but the tears came pouring down. I was angry. I was made to feel guilty about being in a shower and having a toilet that flushed and wanting to have fancy clothes and shoes. I was angry he was making me choose. I told him I loved him. That should have been enough to make him want to try. I let the water trickle down my body as my heart ached. I waited out front of the hotel for my Uber driver. He took me to the doors of the airport and I boarded the plane. I sat alone, waiting anxiously to go back to my life. I closed my eyes, rested my head back and waited. The flight was quick, less than an hour long. I grabbed lunch at the airport and then rented a car. I was thankful Stephen left me money. Before driving to my apartment, I stopped by my mother's place. It had been a while since I'd seen her. I thought a lot about what Stephen had said to me in regards to my mother. Perhaps he wasn't all wrong. Maybe I needed to be a little more understanding of her situation too. I'm sure it was hard on her raising me alone. I stayed for only a short while, had a glass of tea and some conversation. I told her I wanted to try to see her more regularly now that I was back. I was trying to take his advice. Next, I went to my apartment. Thank God I had set up automatic rental payments through my checking account, or I may have come back homeless. I opened the door, happy to be here, but also sad. I wished Stephen had come with me. I missed talking to him already. I wanted to tell him about my visit with my mother and my thoughts on my new career. I shut the door behind me and began opening the stack of mail I'd picked up in the lobby. I turned the radio on and smiled at the memory of Stephen and I singing out loud in the car. I remembered when Richard had passed away, and I felt awful, sorry, and scared. Even though Stephen had not actually died, it felt like he had to me, and I cannot deny the horrible emptiness I feel inside of me. Such different emotions between the two. I had known Richard much longer, but didn't know him in the same way as I knew Stephen. I felt such a connection to him physically and emotionally. I guess this is what love feels like. For so many years I fought not to feel it, never realizing that I didn't actually have the choice. I would not have chosen to fall in love with that mountain man but could not deny that I had done so without knowing it. I was a strong woman more than capable of taking care of myself and tried to convince my inner self to put the past behind me. I would learn from it and move on. What other choice did I have? I couldn't call him. I couldn't write to him. I couldn't even find the cabin again if I wanted to. Stephen drove off in the rental car angry with Sandra. She had no right to say those things to him about his family. He just had to get away, to be alone again. He missed his solitude, the quietness. He hated having the demands of someone else to consider. All he needed was Max. He went to the bank for more cash, then to Walmart for his standard supplies. He returned the rental car and headed back up the mountain. His mind was filled with the chores he needed to accomplish when he arrived at home. He'd need to start chopping more firewood, planting a vegetable garden, storing water for the summer, and build more furniture. No matter how hard he tried, thoughts of Sandra kept entering his mind. He entered the cabin, took off his dress clothes and put his new jeans and t-shirt on. He grabbed his axe and went out to split the wood from where the shed had fallen in. He needed to release the anger he had built up. With each swing of the axe he moaned out loud in frustration. He was kidding himself if he thought he could forget about Sandra. He threw the axe to the ground and sat down, burying his head between his knees. He sobbed like a child. Max came over to comfort him. I thought about getting a puppy. The apartment was so quiet and I was lonely. I'd never had a love for animals, until Max. I missed him too. I busied myself searching for a new career, a new life, a new me. I went on several interviews over the next few weeks. It was strange being back in the city. I noticed things differently now. I heard the traffic more than usual, the sound of the horns blowing and trucks passing by. I realized how little trees we had here. I never saw squirrels or rabbits. I missed Stephen. I longed to feel his touch again, to hear his laugh, to kiss him. I hated the way we separated. I went over the moment in my head over and over again. If I'd only kept my mouth shut, if I didn't push him so hard, if I were more patient, maybe things would have ended differently. Ultimately, our date, our special day together, would still have ended. I don't regret my decision to leave, but was having a hard time letting go. Finally, I was hired by a real estate company in town. I would be responsible for running the office, handling the contracts, and closing details. I was excited and looked forward to the new challenge. I phoned my mother to share the news. She seemed glad that I had and asked to go to lunch. I think she was truly trying to enhance our relationship too. We met at a small cafe, close to my apartment. As I walked over to greet my mother, I noticed a man close by who stood up to greet me. It was my mother's soon-to-be husband. He seemed well-mannered and professional, a nice change from my mother's usual choice in men. I hoped it would work out well for all of us. My new life seemed to be full of changes. Halfway through lunch, I had to excuse myself to the restroom. My stomach was so upset lately. I think it was because of the change in diet. I ate processed and fast food again. That night, I went to bed early. I was exhausted. I'd been home for nearly a month now and just didn't feel like myself, physically or emotionally. My God, a thought crossed my mind and I jumped out of bed, searching for my planner. When's the last time I had my period? I wasn't sure exactly. I knew I had gotten it twice while at the cabin. Those were two of the most uncomfortable weeks I will never forget. I don't know how women lived before tampons. Days didn't matter in the cabin. Whether it was a Tuesday or Sunday made no difference. I think I should have had a cycle again by now. Maybe I have just been so stressed that it could be affecting my health. Or maybe I could be pregnant. I could be a mother. I never imagined myself having children. Until now, strangely, I felt excited. Could there be a part of Stephen inside me? I couldn't wait. I grabbed a jacket and headed out to the corner pharmacy. Waiting for this stick the past 5 minutes has been torture. My whole life could be changed forever. I think I could be a good mother if I was honest with my inner self. I wanted the test to be positive. I closed my eyes, hugged my belly and knew before I even read the test. I was pregnant. Tears filled my eyes as I officially read the results. I was going to have a baby. Who'd have ever guessed? I was 30 years old and had given up on the thoughts of marriage and parenting. I had never met the right person, only now I had, and he lived somewhere in the middle of a mountain, nowhere to be found. I wondered how Stephen would feel, knowing he would be a father. I'm sure he'd want a boy so that he could teach him to hunt and shoot. I think I'd like a girl. He has a whole new family right here in my belly and will never know the love he could have shared with both of us. I would make sure this baby knew all about her daddy. I will tell her that she was made out of love and she will never wonder if she was wanted. I'm sorry Stephen will miss out on knowing this amazing baby we created together. I had to share the news with someone. I phoned my mother. She seemed happy to hear she was going to become a grandmother.
Chapter 9.
I couldn't help myself. As I walked down the aisles of Target, I just had to stop and look at the baby section. It was too soon for me to buy anything, but I could look. The doctor said everything looked good, gave me my prenatal vitamins, and said I'd see her in 6 more weeks. I bought several books to read already. I wanted to be prepared. There were so many adorable outfits, blankets, toys. I was going to need a bigger place for sure. I felt my phone vibrating in my purse. Hello, Sandra. Hey, it's Elaine from the Concord Hotel. Elaine, hello, how are you? I'm good. I'm sorry to hear about Richard, but glad to hear that you had survived. Things have been quiet here without you at work. I'm sure it's been pretty dull and boring as usual. Listen, I wanted to let you know, a man came by here asking for you. I didn't dare give him your address, but I did get his number and he made me promise to have you call him. What's his name? Stephen. What? It can't be Stephen. What's his last name? He didn't say. He was very secretive. What's the number? I hung up the phone so quickly, my heart raced. I know it can't be him. He doesn't have a phone. He wouldn't be at the hotel. Who the hell is Stephen? I waited impatiently. As the phone rang, I was still in the baby department. When I heard him pick up, hello, Stephen, it's you. How? What? I felt myself tearing up. It's me. He hesitated. I need to see you. How? Where are you? I felt myself losing my breath. Are you okay? Yes, I'm fine. What's your address? He said anxiously. 816 Elm Avenue, apartment 2, in Denver, I said confused. How far from the Concord Hotel is your apartment? Maybe 15 minutes. How are you here? I have so much to tell you, Sandra. I can be there shortly to explain it all, he said, excited. Will you be there? Yes, I'm on my way. I left my shopping cart and ran for the door. Don't hang up, talk to me, I said. I want to tell you in person, so I can see you. No, tell me now, what's going on? Sandra, I went back to the cabin and I was miserable without you. I really did a lot of soul searching. I'm sorry for leaving in anger. I interrupted. I'm sorry too, Stephen. I should never have said those things to you. I started driving home. I climbed back down that damn mountain 2 weeks later. I miss you. Do you miss me? Of course I do, I exclaimed. But it's been 6 weeks since I left. Where have you been? I know, I had to get some things straight in my head. That's what I want to talk to you about. I'm almost there. It's hard to drive, talk and see this GPS. I need to hang up. No, I begged. Don't hang up. I pulled into my parking spot and ran into the apartment, waiting impatiently. He laughed. Okay, I won't hang up. There's visitor spots right in front of the complex. Come in and make a right down the hallway. I parked in the garage and take a different entrance in. I'm inside now waiting for you. So, you went to the hotel where I used to work to find me. Yeah, it was hard, but I finally convinced this girl to take my number. He laughed. I had to run and buy a track phone so I could give her a number. I stood in the doorway hearing his voice through the phone and then saw him in my hallway. I ran, Stephen. I put my arms around him and he squeezed me tight, picking me up as he kissed my cheek hard. Max was barking and climbing up at my legs with excitement. I have missed you, Sandra, he whispered. Tears filled his eyes and mine were already falling. We sat inside talking about how he went to his family's old house and how he was trying to make peace with their deaths. It was neglected and needed repairs. I never went back inside after. I never did anything to it. I finally just hired a realtor to sell it. He said he was working on letting go of the anger. I told him about my mother and I building our relationship again. We laughed, we kissed, and before I knew it, we were making love. It was as if we never left each other. Our bodies knew each other well and had longed to be reunited again. How long can you stay, Stephen? I asked as we laid together with Max at our feet. I need to take you somewhere, he said, excited. Let's go now, before it's dark. He jumped up and quickly dressed. Where? What are you talking about? You have to see it, no more questions. He motioned for my hand and pulled me up to dress. We drove for about 45 minutes up towards the mountains of Colorado. Seriously, Stephen, you must have had some revelation. I can't believe you came all this way. I had no patience. Where are we going? My revelation is that I love you, he smiled. I already knew that, I said cautiously. Yeah, but I didn't know I couldn't live without you. That cabin was so empty without you, your laugh, your singing, your constant talking. I hated the quietness, I never thought I'd say that. I took his hand and kissed it. I love you, Stephen. I wanted to tell him about the baby when he pulled into a long dirt road. It winded around the trees of the mountain and then opened up to a quaint log cabin home. He stopped the car. We are here. He got out, called for Max and stood smiling as I got out of the car. Whose house is this? It looks empty. I looked to him. What do you think of it up here? He questioned. It's beautiful, I don't understand. Look at this. We walked further up the driveway and around to the back of the house. Stephen went up the stairs and pulled a key out of his pocket, opening the door. Stephen, what are you doing? I want you to see this. It was a traditional built, beautiful log cabin. It had back windows from the floor to the ceiling. There were no neighbors in sight, but I knew we had passed several along the road. The kitchen had all of the modern conveniences. Come upstairs, you have to see this bathroom, he said and nearly ran up the stairs. Oh my gosh, how incredible, I said as we entered the most luxurious master bathroom I'd ever seen. There was a double sink with a wall-length mirror, a huge old-fashioned bathtub in the center and a stand-up shower with more than enough room for two. The walls were covered in earth-tone ceramics. Why are we here? Could you live here, Sandra, and be happy? What? I don't understand. I looked into his eyes for answers. I could be happy here, it's private, it has all the conveniences. I could call this home, if you were with me. Tears fell down my face again. Stephen, you would leave the cabin. I've searched for weeks for somewhere we could both live with no regrets. This needs a little bit of work, but do you like it? It's amazing, who wouldn't like it? Could you live this far out of the city with no regrets? He asked. We can't afford this. Are you forgetting? I have plenty of money to buy this house, he laughed. And I will have more when my parents' house sells. I could have my mountain man back, I teased, and live in this beautiful house and, there's one more thing I'd need to see. What is it? He said confused. I went and looked into the two other bedrooms. I entered the bigger one, took his hand and put it on my belly. This would be the perfect baby's room. I watched him carefully to see his reaction. What? I'm almost 3 months pregnant. He fell to the floor on his knees, put his head on my belly and kissed it. I am your daddy, he whispered and squeezed me tight. Sandra, tears fell from his eyes. I will never let you go again. I will be a great father and husband, if you'll let me. I knelt down with him. I love you. We cried together for several moments, until Max came and squirmed his way between us. When can we move in? I smiled and knew I would never again be apart from my mountain man.
The end.